everyone. Welcome to Weed Talk News, Pro Cannabis Media's weekly roundup of cannabis news. I'm Alaina Pinto. Well, for the first time since 2019, 420 actually fell on a Saturday, April 20th this year. Of course, that alignment of forces this past week set up a perfect storm for single-day records and state records. Massachusetts set a new record with over 8.6 million in sales on that date and now has passed the 8 billion mark since its launch in 2018. Other states saw 30 to 40% lifts in daily sales from coast to coast. Many sales records were broken, and despite the crash of Dutchie, an online tracking system used by thousands of dispensaries in multiple states. The sad thing about this is that on the busiest day of the year in the industry, some cannabis operators had to resort to handwritten tracking of sales transactions. Keep in mind that this is the third year in a row on 420 that Dutchie's tracking platform crashed. Needless to say, some customers and dispensary owners were really upset. According to Chris Ferrone's Talking Joints memo, Nathan Gerards, CEO and owner of Bloom Brothers in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, posted this on their LinkedIn page. Here's what they said. Hey, Dutchie, you are trash. 2 consecutive years, my business on its busiest day loses thousands and thousands of dollars because we can't appropriately process transactions, and you can't even have the decency to upgrade your infrastructure to satisfy your clients. This is my last straw with them, without a doubt, unquote. To which Dutchie responded with a statement from their CTO, Chris Ostrowski. He said, our systems powered over 2 million transactions, representing $165 million in retail commerce, a 50% increase from 2023 420. And while Dutchie and our partners prepared extensively for this year's 420, a group of customers local to a specific instance of our POS system experienced serious issues that impacted their ability to transact, unquote. So while Dutchie's crash is part of the 420 story this year, the president of the United States, Joe Biden, tweeted out this message right at 420 on 420. He said, sending people to prison just for possessing marijuana has upended too many lives and incarcerated people for conduct that many states no longer prohibit. It's time that we right these wrongs, unquote. Well, obviously, this is politically motivated during a presidential election year, but that didn't stop a group of senators and reps from Congress from sending out another letter urging the DEA to shift or get off the pot, or maybe they need to get on. The fallout in Virginia continues after the 420 Fest event was canceled 72 hours before it was scheduled to start. Joe Parsons has been right on top of this story in his Virginia connection. Here's Joe with the latest.
I'm Joe Parsons from the Virginia Cannabis Connection, and this is your Virginia Cannabis Report from Weed Talk News. Virginia's governor, Glenn Youngkin, has recently caught the attention of a National Democratic Party group, but not for good reasons. The Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee, or the DLCC, called out the governor and his, quote, harmful opposition to marijuana reform. The DLCC, which focuses on electing Democrats to state legislatures, said Youngkin continues to hold Virginia back and block progress made by Democrats in control of the legislature. The DLCC Communications Director, Abhi Rahman, said this week in a statement, let's be blunt. Governor Youngkin is hindering economic opportunity and needed criminal justice reform in Virginia. Legalizing marijuana sales would diversify Virginia's economy and open new avenues for economic growth. Reducing the sentence time for petty marijuana offenses would also change the lives for hundreds of Virginians. Now, next up, I have an update on the Virginia 420 Festival. As reported last week, festival promoter Winston Marsden has been reluctant to speak with any journalist since the incident began. Well, this week, he reached out to me by phone and wants to tell his side of the story exclusively to Pro Cannabis Media. I'll be heading out to his home next weekend to get his input on what exactly caused the event to implode. Stay tuned for that report. And finally, another amazing reggae artist that was supposed to be at both events last week, Lopaka Roots, reached out and gave a great interview on his thoughts about the failed event. For him, it was just a missed opportunity to spread love, good vibes, and great music to the Commonwealth. It was never about the money, and he doesn't hold any animosity. In fact, he wishes that no one else would either, and that the main purpose for this event was for positive people to unite in freedom. He was just bummed out that Virginia missed out on the great vibes and the chance to get the cannabis community together. Lepaca Root starts the next leg of his tour on May 5th, so be sure to catch his show when it comes around to your state. It was a pleasure talking to him for sure. Well, that's all for this week's Virginia Cannabis Report. With the Virginia Cannabis Connection and reporting for Weed Talk News, I'm Joe Parsons. Until next time, stay lifted.
North Carolina has some of the most restrictive cannabis laws in the country. In fact, only one group has medical cannabis for sale, and it's the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. This past 420 was the perfect time for the Great Smoky Cannabis Dispensary to open for business, and it was packed. To buy anything, though, you had to have a valid medical card from your state or one from the Eastern Cherokee Cannabis Control Board. Cooper's Creek Farm, a local grow facility, is providing the products for sale to medical patients. And in Arizona, a strike called by employees of a Curaleaf dispensary in Phoenix was called off. Here's Karen Black with more from the Grand Canyon.
I'm Karen Black from Greenfinger Consulting with the Arizona Cannabis Report for Weed Talk News. The brief 420 protest at Curaleaf's Camelback location in Phoenix doesn't seem to have moved the needle. According to the United Food and Commercial Workers International Union Local 99, which represents workers at that dispensary and other Curaleaf locations, Curaleaf is falsely telling employees their scheduled pay raises were canceled because it could not increase pay during contract negotiations. Now that's confusing because the National Labor Relations Board ruled Curaleaf hasn't even recognized the union. Curaleaf has appealed the ruling and last week issued a statement claiming it's, quote, focused on creating a collaborative culture that allows our team to feel heard, supported, and respected, end quote. This fight ain't over, and we'll keep following it. Speaking of 420, Arizona made the top 10 for states with the highest holiday sales boost. With 2.3 times the normal sales volume, the Grand Canyon state tied for 9th with Nevada, Michigan, and Washington. Good company for sure. And speaking of labor, Arizona ranked 8th in the nation for the total number of cannabis jobs, nearly 21,000 of them, according to the 2024 Bank's Jobs Report. But that's down 4% from 2023. Now, there are at least 100 industry jobs open across the state right now, so it could be that positions are going unfilled rather than being cut. In business news, Phoenix-based Tilt Holdings filed its 2023 10K this week. You know you're in the cannabis industry when there are 30 pages of risk factors, nearly half the document. Tilt also announced its first quarter results call will be held May 15th, and its annual shareholders meeting will be June 11th. The full report and other details are on tiltholdings.com. Last but not least, Arizona cannabis executive Nate Lipton submitted a scathing op-ed to the Arizona Capital Times this week, calling the feds hypocritical if they don't reschedule cannabis. The gist of Lipton's argument is that both the FDA and HHS have recommended rescheduling and have specifically addressed the DEA's reason for opposing it. Mr. Lipton is a co-founder and CEO of GrowersHouse.com and Cannacribs.org. That's all for the Arizona Cannabis Report. I'm Karen Black from Greenfinger Consulting reporting for Weed Talk News.
If you have an operating illicit cannabis operation in New York State, you might want to consider applying for a license. As part of her new budget, Governor Kathy Hochul is creating a 5-point plan to shut down the illicit market in her state. She is creating a special task force to close the illegal stores and target suppliers and landlords who are housing the unlicensed shops. Fines will be increased to as much as $50,000 a day. Padlocks will be placed on operations, and if they are removed, fines increase, and so do the amount of padlocks, since many operators are willing to pay the fines in order to keep operating. The governor is also giving the Office of Cannabis Management the power to shut down and padlock illegal stores. The story is far from over. Curaleaf continues to grow into an international powerhouse in the new cannabis markets of Germany, Malta, and Spain. The publicly traded stock is also on the rise, and Doug Miller tells us more in his High on Wall Street report.
I'm Doug Miller from High on Wall Street with this week's Cannabis stock report for Weed Talk News. SNDL announced it will release its first quarter 2024 financial results for the period ending March 31st, 2024, before the market opens on May 9th, 2024. Let's see how the stock chart looks prior to these financial results. It's trading around $2.01, and it is curling up and it's setting up the run. It looks like they have something going on, so watch for dips before it rips and trade smart. And that's this week's Cannabis stock report. Reporting for Weed Talk News, I'm Doug Miller.
When we come back, we continue with our coast-to-coast state reports on cannabis markets, including a major concert and cannabis trade show that moves from Western Massachusetts to City Hall Plaza in Boston. The Terp Town Throwdown is on the move, and so are we. Don't go away.
We're working on helping startups and companies that need relatively small amounts of money, meaning $500,000 or less. And what we're doing is we've got a funding source that's not basing it on your business plan, on your acumen, it's not a venture, it's debt, but it's based on a credit score and 2 years of tax returns with income. And with that, we can get you money.